Let me,
This meeting is being live streamed.
there we
Okay.
go. Welcome. So, Karen, thank you for coming along today. I'm been very much looking forward to this chat. We haven't met before and we haven't talked, so I'm interested to know all about your Jars of Joy. So tell me how did you get to start up Jars of Joy? Where have you come from? Where is it emanated from?
So, first of all, thank you for asking me to be here.
You're
This meeting
welcome.
is being live streamed.
There
I
we
think,
go. Welcome. Cool. So, Karen,
let me now
thank
begin.
you for coming along today. I don't know why I can hear you very much both. Looking forward to this chat. We haven't. There we go. I'm not sure what I'm doing. There we
Well,
go.
it all adds to the flavour. These will be the outtakes. Leave them in.
Yeah.
So, we were about 6 weeks into lockdown, and I was really missing my grandchildren. So my son and his wife and their two children, they live in Shenzhen in southern China. And we got to about 6 weeks into lockdown, and people were being able to be reunited with their families, even at the gate. And I knew that wasn't available for me. And so I was in quite a dark place, really, because I really felt like I'd got no hope and no chance of really seeing them anytime
Mm.
soon. And I'd not
And
seen,
also being in China, very frightening as well.
yeah, and I'd not seen them since October 2019. So my plan was that I would have been spending April and May at their house, but COVID had other ideas. Um, so I was in a dark place mentally. And then the universe just had my back. I went into my garage and I found two jars from Daniel's wedding. And he got married in 2014. And these two jars made me smile. They made me smile for the first time in weeks.
Mm.
And I just started to think to myself, well, if a jar with a beautiful memory could make me smile, what would a beautifully decorated jar filled with beautiful memories, how would that help me step into joy? And when I needed it, and I really needed it. And so initially it was, I found the jars and I kind of thought, okay, well, I'm going to get someone to decorate these jars for me. And I did. And then I kind of thought, I don't think I'm the only person feeling like this. Maybe,
Mm.
maybe I'll start a Facebook group. So my mum, unsuspecting as she was, I said, come on, mum, we're going to start a Facebook group and start going live. She went, what's going live? I went, you'll find out. And and so I started a Facebook group and we started going live and we just really started sharing our joys every day and putting, I filled my jar with things that meant something to me and that had anchored me to a happy time, a happy place. So when I took the item out, held it in my hand, I immediately was transported back to the festival, the concert, the wherever it was I'd been. And that memory, changed the chemical reaction in my brain and gave me a different feeling inside. And I pretty much kind of thought after that, I think this needs to be more than just for me. We need to be doing this everywhere. And we kind of went a little bit viral, really. People loved my mum singing because they never knew what she was going to sing. And she always misses out a few words. So we know we're never going to get thrown off Facebook. Uh, she always misses out an odd word or two. So there'll be right stuff there. And, and we just, people really loved it and really enjoyed it. And it, I never imagined when I found two jars in my garage. So where they came from, Daniel had got married in 2014 and I'd done his sweetie buffet. So they'd been filled with marshmallows and other sweeties. And they were the last two, they didn't have anything in them when I found them, but they were the last two that I'd kept because I just didn't want to part with them. And I was so, so pleased that I didn't, because
Mm.
that memory. And people will say to me, well, what's so special about a jar? And I'm like, Well, the thing is, a jar, you can see it. You're not waiting to be happy. You can see the things inside it. It's transparent. It's
Mm.
open and it's available to everyone. We can all get a jam jar. We can all get an any jar and make it into our jar of joy. I didn't invent the jar. I'm looking to find out who did, though. So if you do know that, I didn't invent it, but I soon started to think this could help a lot of people. And I'd just retired before lockdown. I'd been a health visitor for 30 years. And I just kind of thought, let's see who else I can help. And people were following us, started following us on Twitter. I opened a Twitter account. I'd never had one of them before. We started getting followed by people all over the world.
Wow.
I got asked to speak at Kindfest USA, all about joy in the workplace.
How lovely.
It was just an unexpected adventure, really. And got asked to go on the radio. My mum sang on the radio. They rang me and they said, you'll get about 4 minutes. 25 minutes we were on. And we got invited back a few months later and a few months after that.
Brilliant.
And it's just been a real journey and adventure that I would have never have expected
Mm.
out of what was really a really painful time for me and a real
Yeah.
pain, because my family are everything to me. They're everything. And I couldn't see them. I put all my joy into them. And I'm not particularly materialistic. If I didn't have a car, I wouldn't be bothered. But not being able to see my family, that was like, it just absolutely ripped at my heart, really. And
Mm.
I had to really dig deep and find the joy that's already in here.
Mm.
And that is what is my mission, is to help people find the joy that's inside you, because it's
Mm.
there. You just got to get it out. And conventional methods, I've trained in the last 3 years as well. I've trained to be an NLP coach. I've trained to be an mBit coach. I've trained as a coach with Andrea Callanan. And but the jars, it's just a beautiful way to work with any age group and anybody, because you're just in that moment.
Mm.
I was very much like, well, we're not a craft group, but I'm not a craft group. However, people do make a jar when they come to my workshops.
Right.
And they do make a jar. And we have discussions around what they might put in it. What does joy mean to them? How do they think they might use that jar? When was the last time they did have joy in their life? And it's I think joy is a very kind of like, it's not saying nothing bad ever happens. It's
Yeah.
saying choose to step into joy.
Yeah.
You can choose, it's available to you. And these are ways of being able to do it, of just literally, take something out of your jar. And a lot of people have said to me, oh yeah, I've got a memory box upstairs. I'm like, well, that's great. When do you look at that? Don't wait.
Yeah.
joy's, joy's available in that jar and in here.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the fact it's a jar. And real things that mean things to you. And I think that's quite probably a bit quirky and a bit different. But I've been really passionate about it, and we've done lots of workshops, all free, with children and adults and people with mental health problems, ladies with breast cancer. And I kind of combine it a lot with my mBit coaching. But that 20 minutes, half an hour, when they're completely present, because they're focusing on the jar, they're not thinking about what happened yesterday. They're not
Mm.
having for tea. They're
Mm.
completely present. It's a very, I think sometimes it's a very undervalued, underthought of thing, that just to be able to sit and be in that moment.
Yeah.
Need a lot of money to do it. It's free,
Mm.
available.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can get some old stickers, you can paint something. And so with that in mind, um, we decided, we got such great feedback from people all over the world. We've got a social following, probably. We've got a Facebook group. We've got 1,300 people in that Facebook group.
Brilliant.
Every day since the beginning of lockdown, I have posted in that Facebook every single day.
Amazing.
I've posted in that group every single day, and we went, we were on Twitter, and we did a video, and we posted that every single morning for 102 days.
Mm.
And we got followers from everywhere, and people messaging and saying, we wouldn't have got through lockdown if it hadn't been for you. Thanks for helping us stay with joy. Thanks for brightening our day. Thanks for helping us. And I think it just shows that how something so simple can have such a massive impact without a massive financial investment.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful. Really beautiful.
subsequently, due to its increased popularity and the consumption of time, and what we decided was we would become a community interest company.
Lovely.
So I truly believe we all need joy, and I didn't want money to be a barrier to people accessing what we do. And so I've I won a crowdfunding bid to deliver a 1 to 500 day in our town.
Wow.
And it will all be free for people to come and attend.
Where are you?
We're in Lancashire,
Okay.
further north than you, I think.
A little bit further north, yeah.
But my hope is that I'm still fundraising for it, but my hope is that once I've done it once, this is a model I can take on the road anywhere. You know,
When's
soon,
the day? When is it going to be?
it's the 14th of January, so it's right in. I would say is probably the darkest month of the year.
Yeah, definitely when you need the joy the most.
Yeah, and there's so much evidence to show that joy extends life expectancy.
Yeah.
So the scientific evidence to show that. Brene Brown.
2 months today as well.
Yeah. Oh, very opportune. And Brene Brown speaks about joy, helping, moments strung together, building up your resilience. And if you live in a town where you really do need to build up your resilience, if there's high unemployment, lots of social housing, ill health, which probably kind of describes where I live, even though we're right by the sea, we've got one of the largest populations in social housing in the area, and poor health in the worst 20% of the country.
Really?
So even
wow.
See social, the health inequalities here are quite noticeable. So to do this event in the middle of January for families and individuals to come and top up the joy in a bit of a quirky way. I've got all sorts of quirky stuff planned. We're going to do a bit of circus skills for, to help people keep learning and keep active. We're going to do laughter yoga.
Brilliant.
Jars. And the thing is that I want people to leave events, and I always want people to leave events with a set of skills they can use every day. Not something that they then have to go and reinvest more money in and find out, well, that was a really good taster, but how will that apply to me and how will that help me? I'm not saying that everyone will go away being able to spin a plate, but, anybody can probably get hold of 2 tennis balls and learn to juggle, or, it's not going to break the bank. And laughter yoga, once they've done that a few times, they can practice that quite simply. And it will empower them to be more in control of their own mental health, which is my background. So that's where I very first started, when I was a staff nurse. I worked in an acute psychiatric unit.
Wow.
I've seen the other end.
Mm.
And when I was a health visitor, perinatal mental health was my field of like expertise. So I support mums who were postnatally depressed.
Right.
So they will be looking for things that they can all do with their family, because I want people to enjoy being a parent, find the joy and not it be a drudgery, and good experiences together.
Yeah.
So Joy Fest is my little, well, it's not so little, it's a bit of a go big and go home. Don't start with anything small. From a workshop of 10 to a community day of 500.
It's fabulous. That's so lovely. And have you, I'm just thinking, have you told the press about it? Do they know? Are they going to attend?
So we were featured in the local newspaper a few weeks ago. And I have got a little bit of a campaign going along, and there's local people getting really involved. So I'm really fortunate. I'm friends with Jane Couch, who was the first ever women's world boxing champion,
Right.
who lives in our town. And she's really behind it. And she said, this is a great event for our town. And it's
What is
spring.
the town?
It's Fleetwood in Lancashire. And so it's going to be an iconic building. It's called the Marine Hall, which is beautiful. But buildings like that come at a cost, and events come at a cost. So it's an expensive day in some terms, but for 500 people to come and cover the costs at £25 a head, they're not paying. That's what it would be to cover the costs.
Right.
That's a small investment in people's health and well-being.
Yeah.
Really, for what they're going to experience on the day.
And who knows what could happen as a result of that? Exactly. What goes on after it.
Yeah. And what I've done is I have a background in public health. And I worked in the public health department for a year when I was a health visitor. And what I've tried to do is bring together community groups that wouldn't maybe know even how to start to organise something like this, but really people need to be able to get to them and see them and be involved. Some amazing community things. I've got Counselling in the Community, which are a charity that service the Fylde Coast, and they're coming along, and they were a man on a mission 7 years ago to help people who needed counselling to get counselling, and it's grown into a charity. So they're coming along, and the mental health team are coming along. I've also got small community groups that have got large Facebook followings coming along. I've got various groups coming to support us on the day that I just want people involved. I've got hopefully I've got like a young girl whose aspiration is to be a world championship boxer. She's gorgeous. She's called Honey, and she's going to come along on the day and do a bit of sparring with Jane Couch, and then she's going to get other children and give them the opportunity to have a little go on the pads, just to show that there are lots of different things that could bring you joy.
It sounds like an action-packed day. There's going to be a lot to fit in.
Yeah, there is a lot going on, and they will get to make a jar as well.
Is it everybody? Are there sort of different sections that people can go to? Is it like that, or is it one everybody focusing on the same thing?
No, it will be separated into different areas. So during lockdown, I was part of another project with Mind, and we were asked to use the assets of our town to help people with mental health to meet the 5 ways to wellbeing, which is how Mind help people in a very proactive way to be able to to be more empowered with their mental health. And so I'm focusing this around the 5 ways to wellbeing. So it's kind of looking at starting your day with gratitude, stepping into joy and then looking at what 5 ways to well-being you could do within the day. So the circus skills will be about keeping active and keep learning. I'm hoping to have the counselling in the community are always looking for volunteers, so they will be very much in the give to others, which is also it's been shown that if you give to others, it gives you just as much of a dopamine hit as it does the person that's in receipt, in fact more. So it's more beneficial to your own mental health when you help other people.
Yeah.
I've got the beach wheelchairs, which are another amazing thing that we have in Fleetwood, where anybody can come along and experience the sea and the beach. And the wheelchair, the people come from all over the country to experience the beach wheelchairs, and which are amazing. And you know, if you've never been in the sea and you've been in a wheelchair and you've always had to watch your family be in the sea and you be an observer, these wheelchairs go into the sea.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. So they're coming along, and they're going to be there, you know, as part of that give to others. And I'm hoping to have the food bank, and I'm going to encourage everyone to bring tins of beans or soup so that we can carry on spreading that joy, sharing it with others. And then I've got friends who, one lady, she's a birth doula, Angela. She does a lot of things with babies. So we're going to do some mum and baby stuff.
Great.
And I've got a lady coming to do laughter yoga.
Brilliant.
And they'll all be, and I've possibly got a gentleman coming to do salsa dancing. And so there's going to be lots of opportunities for people to take part in things and be involved, really. And
yeah,
it's been a dream of mine. During lockdown, I had this vision that I wanted to have a festival. And how amazing, because I used to go on Clubhouse. I don't know if you ever went on that during lockdown.
Yeah.
I used to go on Clubhouse, and a good friend of mine, Matt Callanan, ran a kindness club. And I used to host it with him. And we met people from, well, I never met them. We spoke to them all over the world. And I was like, who'd be up for Joy Fest? And they were like, yeah, we would. And so this is like my first little foray locally into it. But I was like, I've never forgot it. And I just think, you know, it's the kind of thing that you don't know you need till you've been. And then you think, I needed that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people they have joy, and you know, if you've got small people or animals in your life, joy is right in front of you. Children don't wait to be joyful, do they?
No.
If they're happy, they don't think I'll wait till later before I laugh at that. You know, and my thing would be embrace the inner child, play do things that light you up and bring you joy, because life is really short.
I agree.
So I'm enjoying this.
Brilliant. Good. Oh, thank you so much for sharing all of that. So if people want to, they can access your Facebook group, but how often do you do days for people to create their jars of joy? And is that in person rather than, do you ever do any of those on Zoom or?
I don't do any on Zoom, although I do have a friend that lives in Australia that keeps saying to me, you need to do these online. And and I was like, I'm not quite sure how that'll work. How will that work? And she said, well, they'll just get the materials and workshop the way you do it. And then they'll have a bit of music playing while they do the jar. And then you'll come back like you do.
Yeah. Or you'll chat amongst yourselves while you're doing it. Exactly that. Yeah. A lot of people do co-working sessions on Zoom where they're busy working away, but they've just got somebody there. It's just having that accountability, isn't it? And the woman you spoke to yesterday, she does vision boards on Zoom, which is no different to you cutting out from bits of magazine and putting it on your vision board. So maybe you should have a chat with her about how she does it.
Yeah, well, I know that when I very first started off and we were going live and people said to us, oh, it'd be great if we could meet you. And, yeah, we've become a little bit of a celebrity in our town, really. You know, we were honoured in our museum, which was wonderful during lockdown.
Wow.
lovely. And we were asked to share our story. And then there was an artist, he's called Luke Jerram. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's done quite a few tributes to the people that died during COVID. And he chose our town to display this art installation, which was a series of flags, and each flag represented so many people that passed during the pandemic. He did another one on a beach, but he couldn't have done it on our beach because it would have washed away. So he did it in the grounds of the building where I want to do Joy Fest. And we were asked to share our story. And then the story was played for 72 hours at the top of out, like, broadcast around the town. And we were asked, my mum and I were asked to open it. There were 3 opening ceremonies and 3 closing ceremonies. And my mum and I were asked to open it. And we were the only women asked to open it. And it was just wonderful, really. And I was like, wow, there were people that were military veterans. I was like, I'm humbled that you've asked. And they were like, no, we really want you to, because what you're saying, people need to hear it. And I think that's the thing sometimes. We don't tell our story. We don't share our story because we think maybe no one will want to listen. Don't. How will the people that find us, that need us, find us? If we don't shout out about it. But I'm quite I've done a lot of stuff during lockdown. I joined my mum in a choir virtually, and said to her, we're going to be singing. And
Brilliant.
right, I said, we're going to be singing Times Like These by the Foo Fighters. She looked at me and she went, who are the Foo Fighters? We joined the super choir. And again, singing brings joy because, again, you're in that moment, aren't you? You're brain active.
But also part of a community as well, isn't it? That's belonging to something, isn't it?
It's, that connection. We joined this choir, and it was a beautiful story, really, because one of the choir members, she'd been pregnant and she'd had a little baby girl, Luna, and she'd only lived for 5 days. In her memory, this choir, they were already a choir, but they asked other people to join and be part of their community to do this special recording. It was amazing how they did it. And it was to raise money for Cardiff Neonatal Unit, which is where they were based. And when I signed my mum up and just said, oh, we're going to be singing this song. But we did have a community for about 4 weeks where we sang the song, and then we had to record it ourselves. And then the ladies that were miracle workers put it all together, and it was all filmed, and they released it for charity.
Oh, lovely.
And all the money raised was to go to in memory of Luna and all the babies who watch from above. And what we never expected was that in the January, they released it on iTunes.
Wow.
I was like, there you go, Mum. That's one thing ticked off your list. You've always wanted to do a professional recording.
Brilliant.
It was lovely. And
you're little celebrities.
I don't know. We might be. I don't know. But I think fundamentally, I wouldn't want anybody not to have joy in their life or feel like they don't deserve joy. And I've done some of the workshops in a local like sheltered housing, and there were people in there with there was a couple of people in there with quite severe mental health problems, because if they had mental health problems before COVID, it definitely impacted them.
Yeah.
Even just to choosing what size of a jar to have, I'd taken in these big jars, and they said, I need one much smaller than that. I haven't got that much joy, and I don't. And, it really makes you sit and think of just kind of feeling that self-worth, that you deserve to have joy. That that's like another level of understanding of,
Yeah.
finding that joy, but feeling that you deserve it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think because I've got quite a big background with mental health and uh, health in general, holding that space for people, I've done the workshops and many things have come.
Mm-hmm.
I've also done the workshops for my friend Angela. She is the birth doula. She is a volunteer for SANS. Is it SANS?
Yeah. 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 The death, neonatal death.
And they have a torchlight walk, and we did lanterns of joy for them to take to their little like nighttime tribute. And we've also done lanterns of joy for Christmas. So the children in our local town, we've delivered that to them for 2 years, and during the lights switch on. So it can be fluffy, but it can also be a lot deeper. And I think it's whatever you need. Some days you just need a bit of fluff to make you smile, don't you?
Absolutely.
Other
Absolutely.
other days, and Jars of Joy Facebook group is very much, it's a real positive little space. And people will say to me, well, you don't ever post anything negative. And I'm like, no, because there's enough negativity out there.
Exactly. Why would you post a negative in your jars of joy?
I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
No. And you're not brushing it under the carpet, but we're just trying to acknowledge it's here, but also allow for the joy to come through. Yeah.
To have that space to be able to just dip in and dip out and go, I go in this space. There's going to be uplifting, Started actually now, my mum and I have started going, she's been poorly for the last 6 weeks, but I just started going live on my own personal page, and loads of people were tuning in. I did something with her the other week, and I think 500 people watched it. And we were only in the car, and she was just like going, la, la, la. So I think, there's a lot of, social media gets really bad press, as it were, but it can be used for good.
It can, absolutely. Yeah.
It can be used for good. And I think, that in that case, and it's accessible for anybody. And I think sometimes, that availability is important. And, I've got lots of people within the group who will say to me, I was having a really bad day till I read that. Or I was, thanks. I was, and I'll just say, just go through this. There's 3.5 years worth of posts in there. Go in, have a look, smile, find something that makes you smile.
Yeah.
But I do think everybody really should have a jar of joy. Everyone should have one. We all need joy, don't we? And we'll all have days where it doesn't seem very joyful.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. So, wow. So people can access you from Jars of Joy, and if they want to, they'll be waiting for your Zoom call for your Zoom course to create their.
Well, there's a lovely lady in Australia, Jackie Van Barren. If you get to watch this, she'll be like, I've been telling you that for weeks.
Sometimes we need a little nudge, just a little nudge. It's the universe telling you, come on, time to move it on a bit more.
Yeah, I've been saying that for ages. Get her on. Get her on.
Because also, do you charge? Presumably, you charge for those courses.
So the workshops that I do in person, it's really, where they make a jar with me. I've only been charging like £20 to come along. And with the children, we charge like £10. But I've been accessing, or I'm looking to access, lots of pots of money, hopefully some lottery funding, so that it can be delivered for the people that need it for free. However, the other side to that is, even though I'm a non-for-profit, I'm quite savvy that we need to start making a charge when I deliver it on Zoom.
Yes, because that can also go towards the day, can't it? The big event. And
yeah, Yeah, and we've got I mean, I've been organising various little fluffy events. You know, we had a ladies' night the other night that raised some money. I've got a shopping event this week that's got about 30 stalls come in for people to have fun and, you know, raise some money as well. But yeah, and I do intend, probably the plans in the new year are to get this event delivered and then look at how we can get more joy to more people, really.
Yeah.
Because I think people need it.
They do indeed. They definitely do. And yeah, I couldn't think of anyone better to be able to do it. And from your own experience as well.
Yeah.
When I do these interviews, I do them because I experienced loss with my father dying of cancer. And during that stage, I wasn't really fully expressing my grief or understanding how to do that. And as a result, I became quite unwell. And my passion is to help people to express their emotions, to feel the feelings and allow for those to come up, but in a nice, safe, and gentle way. And I use all of my therapies, and I do a daily online meditation group, etc., to do that. But I would love to prevent people from becoming unwell as a result of not being able to express those emotions. And when I interview people, I ask them a very simple question, which we get asked probably on a daily basis. But in this moment, I'm asking you to allow yourself to say something other than what your normal standard response is, but to actually to connect in with what that answer is. So to be authentic in your response and to not worry that nobody wants to hear the right answer to this question, that actually I absolutely want to know, and I'm here to listen to the answer of that question in the fullness of your ability and willingness to share. So my question is, how are you and how are you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm good. But I resonated with your story. So I too lost my dad to cancer 24 years ago. Mm. And I realized that I didn't grieve as much at the time. I got on with doing and not being in that space. And earlier on this year, in fact, only a month ago, actually, I went to stay with a friend who does retreats, to be in a space where I received some more healing from that loss 24 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that that person is in your heart and find peace.
Yeah.
That has taken a long time to come to that.
Mm.
So I totally resonated as soon as you said about with your dad. And I had a small child at the time and I just got on with it.
Yeah, because you have to, don't you? Life gets, you know.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's that acknowledgement that there's peace, that they were with you and they are still with you.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, the fact that we're in here today and not in my summer house, the first thing I said this morning to my mum, when the front of my summer house looked like a CSI scene, because I taped it up in the middle of the night, pitch black with plastic, and it had stayed. And I said to my mum, that's just what my dad would have done. And she went, it absolutely is. It's just what your dad would have done.
I'll just explain to those listening that actually the roof of your summer house just flew off in the...
So the front door of my summer house...
Yeah, the front door. Yeah.
In Storm Debbie. And there was a gap of about 2 foot where the door had we've been able to put it back, but not back on its hinges because they'd ripped off. And my dad was a very practical man. And when I went to stay with my friend in Lanzarote, she'd said, remember, he's always in your heart and he's always with you. Talk to him. He's been waiting for you to talk to him. So, and last night I thought, oh, what would my dad, what would you do? And then my mum went, I found this tape, and I went, I know what my dad would do. And so I had this big plastic bag and I gaffer taped it all up, and it did look like a crime scene. And I went to bed. It was pouring down. It was pitch black. I couldn't see what I was doing. I was stood on a chair. I was drenched. And then I thought to myself, I got up this morning and it was all perfectly in place. And I looked and I thought, wow, if ever there was and at the time I was thinking, oh, this isn't going to happen. But to know that that person's spirit helps you to motivate you to do the things you need to do is just priceless. Absolutely priceless. And I was actually at a funeral of a friend on Friday, and his son and my son were friends, and we were all friends. And his dad was the same age as my dad was when he died. And I said to him, my dad was 67. I said, and I felt cheated. And he said, that's how I feel. And I said, try not to feel cheated for too long, because it can make you unwell. Make you forget all the good stuff.
Yeah.
But it's important to go through all those processes, isn't it? It's important. And I think, I work with Andrea Callanan as a story work coach. And when people write their story, often it's the things that they think they've dealt with that are still coming up for them now, the patterns, the limiting beliefs, but often the trauma of loss. And something really little can happen, and it brings about all the same things that you haven't resolved, or you haven't come to peace with, still battling with in your head. So when you ask me how I am, probably if you'd have asked me this about a month ago before I went, I probably would have got upset when you spoke about your loss. But I think there's been a lot of healing taking place for me in that particular moment, and to be able to still accept that, that it's happened, but feel peace and not resentment or bitterness or anger about it, I think is I'm feeling quite good really about that, because I feel I've shifted lots. But I think the thing to remember about that is if it's available to us all to do that, but sometimes we need that space. And I'm hearing that that creation of the safe space to do that is, I think, the key. Safe space where somebody's going to hold you and hold, because that's the fear, isn't it? The fear of letting go of those emotions, of how will you get back?
Yeah. With your jars of joy.
Well, I'm really conscious that some of the people that I meet, the joy is too much. And I speak very much about finding peace first, which is I needed to find it. That finding that peace and that calm by doing things that aren't energy draining. I'm really excited to listen to your meditations, because I noticed that you'd recorded a lot yesterday, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to listen to them. Because you can be in that moment and you can heal while you're listening to those, and they don't require a lot of physical energy, and they're nourishing and replenishing. And I think that's the important thing to remember, to nourish and replenish.
Yeah.
And that's something that often in situations, maybe in your work, you don't do that.
No.
Going and you keep doing instead of being.
Yeah.
And that piece, I found that, you know, there are lots of people who want to come to Jars of Joy workshops. I mean, children love it. They get to stick stickers, and, you know, who won't love doing that? I like doing that. But when I've done it with adults more, you know, I think there's a lot more kind of steps for them to take. That's why there's more depth within that sometimes, of that need to find peace and calm in the day before they're ready to step into joy. I mean,
and sometimes we just need to be heard as well.
And to be listened to be understood, and not somebody listening, just waiting for you to be quiet to tell you what they want to say. And you know, I think I was thinking about before I came on today, and I kind of thought, we've never met, but I was reading all your stuff, and I thought, I think the universe throws people together at the right time.
Yeah.
Right things. And I always, you know, I was in a really dark place when I found those jars. And to me of my son's wedding, which was one of the happiest days of my life.
Lovely.
Then a week later, though, he emigrated to China. And so that's you know, and I actually only got to see my grandchildren in April this year. So
wow.
It was 3.5 years of not seeing them. So I think what Jars of Joy and it becoming that community interest company has also done for me is that, you know, I've been able to build something, but there was a little time where I started to question why I was doing it, because I was still in that process. I hadn't been healed for me.
Yeah.
So I think that gave me a greater understanding of why people maybe go, I don't want to be in Jars of Joy, it's too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I don't take it personally.
No, everyone comes to things in the right time, don't they?
Yeah. And you know, I mean, we're doing some workshops. We did them last year, at another light switch on. And my friend said to me the other day, she went, oh, she said, we had 70 children come in an afternoon, which we did. And at the night time, we were like, my mum was like, come on, let's get doing these. And, you know, and my mum is a massive part of Jars of Joy. And one of the reasons that I wanted her to be in that, and why she loves it, is because I think sometimes older people aren't as valued for their contribution.
Yeah, I agree.
And what wisdom and what they bring. And my mum was,
and you're giving her a lease of life again. There's a purpose, which we all need. It doesn't matter whether we're retired or not. We still need a purpose, don't we?
Yeah, and I feel very much, you know, I spent 6 years as a health professional, and I retired after I'd been unwell, and I'd gone back to work, and I was very much, I don't want to work here. I don't like this. I don't want to be in this environment. So I was very fortunate, I guess, to have retired just before the pandemic. All my plans got changed. But I look back and I think to myself, I've had 3.5 years of an adventure with my mum that, had the pandemic never happened, I don't think we would have ever had. Yeah. She says to me, I've had a second life.
Oh, wow.
Gorgeous. You know, she said, because her and my dad had been married for 49 years when he died, and they'd only ever been them two, you know, together. And she was like, you know, it was like her right arm had been cut off. And you know, she says, you know, I've had a second life. And she always wanted to be a singer. But, you know, back in the 50s, when you had children, that was pretty much life over. Home, and don't think about having any aspirations or any dreams or anything you want to do. And so this has been a real joy for her, really, and being able to share that and be in that service of others, really, as well, and to be amongst people. She loves it. It makes her thrive. She's just phenomenal, really. You know, when you see her at Sparkly Margaret, you know, I mean, she's a real sparkle queen. You know, the other day we got home from somewhere. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. We'd been doing this, and I said, "Let's go live." And she went, "I've took my earrings off." And I went, "Well, go and put them back on then." She went, "Well, I'll go and put my earrings back in and we'll go live." And I went, "Okay." So we went live at 1 o'clock in the morning just to thanks everyone for coming to our fundraiser. And you know, and like, my mum wouldn't have ever, you know, I mean, my mum didn't even have a Facebook account when lockdown started. Well, she might have had, but she wouldn't have known one end of it from another. And, you know, I think it's a testimony to that, learning new skills and feeling valued and having a purpose, like you said, that help you be able to. And she is forever grateful. She said, "The minute I open my eyes, I am grateful I've opened my eyes." And I think, you know, I'm the same.
I apologize because I started this recording without plugging in my battery, my laptop. So I'm now running very low. So, well, I am going to have to bring it to a close, I'm afraid. Apologies.
Nope, necessary.
But thank you very much for coming along today, and we'll put all the details in the comments on this recording. And I hope that more people access, and presumably there's a link that people can donate for your day on the 14th.
There is. So there's a Space Hive link. So it's through Space Hive, and there's like a photograph of me and my mum. And if anybody would like to donate on Space Hive, that would be amazing.
Perfect. We will put that link then at the bottom.
You can follow us on, and I'm smiling now because it's not Twitter anymore. They can follow us on. They can follow us on that. So, you know, we're at Jars of Joy. You know, if people want to follow us, I think Sean Wallace from The Chase has just started following us.
Okay.
Nice. He was on a boat somewhere down in Portsmouth or somewhere, and he started following us. But yeah, we just love people to get along on our conscious community of joy, really, because who doesn't need more joy in their life?
Exactly. Thank you so much for coming along, and wonderful. I'm so impressed with what you've done and achieved, and it's brilliant. And the more joy you can bring into this world, the better. So long may that last. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as we would say, keep smiling.
Perfect.